Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa D'Amico with the Rockland Arts Festival. I have the honor today of speaking to really multi-dynamic, multi-layered artist, curator, and so much more. Barbara Pollitt, I'm so excited to speak to you. This is wonderful.
Oh,
Please take me and everyone else on your journey.
okay. I live in Pomona and we moved here in 1988. I came to New York City in 82. And I right away started working with Julie Taymor as a puppet and mask person. I was her assistant for 20 years or so. So I had this first career in puppet and mask work where I was a director, designer, and performer. And that went on for 25 years. So I'm gonna, breeze through some pictures of that time. And I lived in the East Village first. I was kind of, hopping around to different friends' places, subletting. And then I got together with my current husband, only husband, Rip Heyman, who is known for being a composer and the owner of the Ear Inn on Spring Street. So there's always a hubbub of art going on, whether it's musical or visual. And his partner at that time was an artist named Shari Deans. And so my second career, which was going on at the same time as my first career, started in 1990, was helping inventory the collection of Shari Deans and then later managing the collection, becoming the curator administrator of the foundation. So that's been going on for 33 years. And it led to making my first film, my first book, and we're in the process of doing an LP of Shari's poetry. But this was all going on at the same time that I left my first career of being a puppet and mask person. And then I was directing an opera, a Haydn opera that I designed and directed. It was a major spectacle um, with masks and puppets and all kinds of wonderful things called Philemon and Baucis. And so that was the second time I was doing that direction and design. And at the same time, I was performing with Mabou Mines downtown. I have an Obie Award for performance with that group. I worked with them for 18 years and was known for being the first American and woman to work alongside performing with a Japanese bunraku master. And the bunraku is the three-person puppet form in Japan, very classical, and women are just not allowed. So he came to America to work with us, and as long as I was hidden, everything was fine. Because even though he was a 40-year master and high up in the hierarchy of the company, it was still taboo for him to be performing with someone like me. In any case, um, my relationship with Julie Taymor went on. I toured all over the world with Juan Darien and did many different shows with her. And the final work I did with her was in '06 of a film called Across the Universe. It was a Beatles musical. And I was hired to design puppets and masks for that. And also I performed in it with my two kids who were teenagers at the time in the street parade. But I've performed with Bread and Puppet, and then I got hired by George C. Wolfe, who was director at the Public Theater and then became the artistic director after Joseph Papp died. And I did, I think, 5 shows with George, Broadway musicals and plays, and that was an amazing relationship too. So this whole designing, directing, performing thing was very consuming. But at the end of it, I couldn't go to the opening of the opera because I'd gotten so sick. I caught pneumonia, and I was performing every night while I was in rehearsal for the opera. And I'd run out of the theater. I wouldn't take a curtain call because I had to make the 11:15 bus from Port Authority to get home and get my kids who were at some babysitter and carry them to the car and then carry them to the house asleep and then be up the next morning to get them on the bus and then go to rehearsal again. And it just all caught up to me. And I was looking at the ceiling thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I need a health plan. I got a husband with a heart condition and 2 kids. I need a health plan. So that's when I went into education. I spent a year and a half doing a master's program up here in Rockland at the Teacher Center. And I started working. And then 18 years later, I just retired in January from the Department of Education. I was teaching early childhood in the Bronx. I'm a literacy specialist. I thought, what can I do that's not going to drive me crazy to do? And it was imagination, it was play, it was being able to use literacy. And I had a son who had dyslexia, and I just learned so much about how I could have helped him if I had known what I know today. He would have had a much easier childhood. But anyway, let's look at some pictures.
Yes.
And I know it's a lot to take in, but right now I'm working mostly because I have time on Shari Dean's foundation. And Shari just finished a big show in Boca Raton Museum of Art. She's on view currently at Museum of Modern Art. She's a big rubbing on display there in their new on view gallery on the 4th floor. So that's going to be kind of on permanent display. And she's at a lot of major museums, Virginia Museum of Fine Art, the Whitney, and she's been featured in these places. So Shari's finally, her career is coming around. And what with the new book that just came out in January, it's available through our website if people are interested in learning more about it. And if you go to the research button on our sharideans.org website, you can see the movie. That just comes right up.
That's wonderful.
So here, let's take
We'll
a look
also
at some
share the link
pictures.
to the movie and to the website.
Okay,
This is
so
great.
here's I'm gonna start with some pictures. You can see that?
Yes, that's
Okay, so this is from The Tempest on Broadway. Let's see what this is. Oh, these were on view at the Rockland Center for the Arts. Can you see this picture?
they're incredible. Is
These
that
are Eskimo masks that were done for a play with the Revels in Boston called Misana. It was actually a play about the loss of the Franklin expedition in the Northwest Passage and how the men were kind of saved for a while by the local Eskimos. And there were a series of stories that were told about Misana, who was the character here at this guy. And he lost his way in a storm to the end of the world. And trying to come back, he was taken in by various people. These are the walrus people. And he finally got back to his island home where he had been declared dead and all his belongings buried. And he realized that he didn't look the way he used to. All his hair had gotten blown off at the end of the world. And he would have been killed by the people because they think he was a ghost, So he was lost. And this whole story was about reaching for the stars and being lost. It was the year the Challenger had exploded.
Mhm.
And the director wanted to use this allegory to help people process the divine nature of exploration
Mhm.
and the consequences of how dangerous it is. So that was that play. Let's see. What's this? Oh, this is from the Rockland Center for the Arts catalog. So this top picture is from a play I did with George Wolfe, was Caucasian Chalk Circle, a play by Bertolt Brecht. But he set it in Haiti. So we have Baby Doc Duvalier and Madame Duvalier and the baby and all the black shirt bad guys. And this is a Solomon story where the mom leaves the baby in a pile of laundry. The maid picks it up while the palace is being stormed by the revolutionaries. And she takes the maid takes the baby to the countryside while the black shirts are in pursuit. They want to capture this child because he represents the line of power. And she raises him and finally gets caught up by Madame here because Baby Doc gets, as we know, executed. But there's this judge who's presiding, and he draws a circle on the floor. He says, "Put the child," and by this time it's a puppet of a boy, right? It's not a baby anymore. And the judge says, "Well, whichever mother can get the baby outside the circle is the true mother." Do you know this story?
No, I do not. This is
Okay, it's called
fascinating.
King Solomon's Seal. Okay, so the two women pull the baby, pull the baby, pull the baby, or the child, and the maid lets go and goes over to Madame Duvalier's side. And the judge says, "You weren't trying very hard. You got to try again." And so puts them together. And she lets go again, right? Or this one, she lets go. And the judge says, "Well, really, the only true mother in this case is the one who wouldn't harm her child."
Oh,
So he awards the custody of the child to the maid.
whoa.
So that's the Brecht story in a nutshell. So yeah. This was also from that catalog. These were some of the masks from Caucasian Chalk Circle. These were masks from a play called Spunk by Zora Neale Hurston, also at the Public Theater. And this was the Joe Clark, the head of the puppet. This was a Maasai mask. I had this idea of doing a play about reincarnation, and it never got done, but this was one of the masks from that. And this is Gregory Hines.
I knew that immediately. You did not have
Yeah.
to tell me. Wow.
Jelly's Last Jam. So this was the first act finale where George, the director, said, "Well, we've got to have these, blackface people." Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if I can show that to you. These are other pictures from, oh, this, well, anyway, I won't tell you that story. We'll just look at some pictures. This was the Korean Day Parade, where it was the year that the Korean airliner was shot down. Remember that? The Russians shot down an airliner.
Mhm.
And the parade was happening that year. And at first we had nobody in the parade. And then it was produced by the Korean newspaper in New York City. And then everybody wanted to be in the parade. So we had this giant Buddha character. This was from, I did a show at the Met of Gilgamesh.
Yes.
Oh, this is, I'm skipping around, I'm sorry, but this is Baby Doc's head after he gets executed. This is Caucasian Chalk Circle, where the device was that if you're masked, you're in the city, and if you're unmasked, you're in the countryside. Here they are again. Oh, this was one of the first major plays I did. It was The 13 Clocks by James Thurber. It was done as a pageant play with two-person puppets. So this puppet had one guy who was holding the head and the left, the right hand, and the other guy was doing the left hand, so they could play the guitar.
Right.
That one was a tour. This was in the New York Times Sunday Arts and Leisure section. I was featured in that for the Tempest.
Wow.
This is from The Tempest. This is the giant harpy bird that I designed. This is Ingenue Ellis, who's quite a famous actress now. At that time, she was still at NYU. But the wingspan on this bird was 36 feet, 18 on a side. So there were 3 puppeteers manipulating the wings. And she climbed a ladder and was scolding the court. This is when, I don't know if you know the story of The Tempest, but there's a shipwreck. Ariel is the fairy who's helping Prospero, who's played by Patrick Stewart in this show. This is at the Delacorte Theater and moved to Broadway. But
Wow.
she's scolding them for being disloyal to Prospero. Now, this is the Philemon and Baucis show. This is Jelly's Last Jam. So there was a mammy character. These are the mean white guys who were the managers of Jelly Roll Morton, and these were his sisters in the play. So that Jelly Roll Morton's having a dream while he's dying in this musical, with Gregory Hines as playing Jelly Roll Morton. It was my first musical. And this is from Spunk. You saw a little picture about that. This is Joe Clark. Oh, to be young again. Let's see. These are various awards, the Obie. And let's see here. There, we were looking at those. We saw that. The children puppets on The Tempest were in the play. They're called they have a name. They make appearances. This is the Mammy puppet.
Wow.
This is Joe Clark and his buddies. So in Spunk, George wanted a Greek chorus. So they're sitting on a bench, and this guy is holding on to the head of Joe Clark, and he has his own hand here, and then he's got a fake hand here.
Oh, clever.
And then this guy has his own hand here and a fake hand here, and he manipulates Joe's hand. So they make comments on the play. And at the end of the play, at the curtain call, people were saying, "Where's the old man?" I thought he was really alive. So that was good work. Yeah.
Oh, you can't get a better compliment than that. That's fabulous.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, this is from The Tempest. You know, this is Jelly's Last Jam. You know, I got 5th place credit on these things. And this is Juan Darien. That was Julie's show. This got her the MacArthur, this play. And we toured all over the world with that. This is the Gilgamesh play at the Met. This is the North Wind. I was musician on this. Ralph Lee, who just died this year, got that award. I don't know what else is here. Oh, this was kind of recent. This was at the Puppet Museum in Storrs, Connecticut.
Wow.
And I don't know if there's, this is from the Philemon and Baucis opera. So the concept for this opera was a kind of a island in the sky, and it was all fashioned after Cubism, the scenery and the puppets.
Yeah.
So these are all crafted out of paper and then made with a product called Celastic. And that's an Ovid play. I think we're out of time, though. I mean, I could keep telling you stories, but
I do have some questions before we go,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
Okay. Sure.
These are incredible. When you make puppets for these productions, are you permitted to keep them, or do they stay with?
Oh no, yeah, I usually have that in the contract that I retain ownership of them.
And how big of like for you as the really who oversees all of it, how much of a staff do you get, or are you making the majority of these pieces yourself?
Okay, so for instance, Jelly's Last Jam had a lot of stuff that I had to make,
Uh-huh.
and I had 11 people working for me.
Wow.
I had to rent a shop or create a shop because I went to George at one point for the Tempest.
Mhm.
Wait a minute, what am I thinking of? No, Jelly's Last Jam, I had the crew. And for the parade, the Korean parade, I had about 8 people working for me. But like for George, at first, when Joe Papp was alive and we were doing Spunk and Caucasian Chalk Circle, we had across the street a whole scene shop and prop shop that was available to us to work in. And then there was this big censorship move with Jesse Helms and the National Foundation for the Arts. And Joe used to take a lot of money from them, but then he disagreed so heartily with the philosophy of censorship that he refused to take any more money from the NEA. And then the sound crew at Public Theater wanted to unionize, and at that point he said, okay, you guys, this is a non-union situation, we cannot afford to be union. And he closed the scene shop, the property shop, the costume shop, and the sound shop.
Wow.
So all of that then had to be independently done. And I went to George when he had the Tempest to do, and he wanted all these children puppets, and he wanted the big harpy
Yeah.
bird, and he wanted, all these different things. And I said, where am I supposed to? I don't have a shop. Do you want me to be busy, spending money on rent? He said, oh no, you can have the alley. Said the alley? You mean next to the building? He said, yeah, you can have the alley. And so we set up a tent.
Get
And
out.
there was a doorway, an exterior doorway that led into the theater behind where they had the film stuff going on. I can't remember the name of that. The biggest theater at the Public. And we'd be creeping around behind the films going on to get stuff and then go back in the alley, and then it would rain and we'd have to, be ripped on and all. What a mess.
Wow, but what
So
determination
you can
you
have the alley. Oh, thanks a lot.
have. You incredible. Okay, my last question. What advice do you have for anyone who would like to essentially follow in your footsteps?
Oh, for God's sakes.
What worked for you?
Well, you see, there's a lot of people doing puppetry now
Mhm.
in New York. There's puppet festivals going on, very serious adult work going on. They just had a big puppet festival at La Mama. So I think, as far as rehearsal space is concerned, if you can get together with, the downtown puppet scene at Here, which is the Here Art Festival, which is uh, on St. Dominic Street and 6th Avenue. They have a puppet festival too. There's a lot of activity that wasn't there when I was coming in.
Wow.
But the fact that the rent is so exorbitant,
Yeah.
you got to live in Queens or something if you're going to work. But these venues are very welcoming to people who don't have a lot of money.
That's
La
great.
Mama and Here. Basil Twist, who got the MacArthur Award for his work with the Symphonie Fantastique, which was a puppet show in a 500-gallon tank of water.
Whoa.
It was really incredible. Beautiful undulating fabrics and different effects and live music playing. It's really awesome. So anyway, he let's see here. I'm getting lost in my computer, but he was also helpful in Here. He provided a venue for puppeteers to experiment and use rehearsal space and
Right.
stuff. So
That's kind of
that's what people should do, because if you can afford to live in New York City and still have time to make puppets, God save you, because the other place that's very friendly is St. Anne's Church in Brooklyn.
Really?
Yeah, they have, I worked there also with Bread and Puppet. You know, they really support puppetry, and there are grants out there. The Jim Henson Foundation gives grants. But I wanted to show you just before we stop the Shari Dean's website.
Okay.
So here it is.
And like I said, I will include a live link for
Is
everyone.
it? That's
I,
not
I
it.
I just see
That's
your
not it. Let me
bar.
try again. Got the wrong thing. If it'll come up. See if that'll work. No, it's not coming up. I'm sorry. Let me
Yeah,
try
I'll
again.
include it so people can just click on the link and go.
Oh, I see what the trouble is. Okay, hang on.
And
Let
then
me bring it up. There. That should work better as a screen share. Let's see if you see it now. Do you see it?
bingo.
Yeah. Okay, so this is Shari on the streets of New York City in front of the Cedar Tavern,
Mhm.
where she was making these giant rubbings. And if you want to see the film, you just go to the research button. Let's see if does that come up? Do you see it?
You can see it.
Shari Dean's A Life in Art. This is the film, you just click on it. And this is the book. And if you do look at the book, the additional images are here so that as you're reading, you can have it clicked into your device. So it says, see figure 1, see figure 2, whatever it is that you're reading about, you can look at the pictures on your device instead of having to flip back and forth in the book.
Right.
So this is Shari in bed. But Shari died in 1992. She came here in 1939, the day that England declared war on Hitler. And she had a Hungarian passport. She was here on vacation.
Wow.
But she did this, glass work. She was pop artist. She just had these amazing ideas. Ray Johnson was a good friend of hers. But you can look at this on your own on the website. The additional images buttons let you see all kinds of work.
Right.
And then, or you can go to this is a beautiful website. So the life section, these are all the different periods of her life.
Huh?
And each one has a timeline for that period, what she was up to.
It's
These
a great website and it's very user friendly.
Yeah, you see a lot on it. Anyway, I know we've gone over time.
It's okay. You are fascinating, and I
Thank
could
you.
talk to you all day. Barbara, thank you so much for
Okay, you're very welcome.
sharing your stories and your photos and your inspiration.
Well,
This
the pictures tell much better than I can, right?
I don't know if I agree with that completely.
Well, I appreciate your work, and I look forward to working with you on Dorothy Gillespie.
Same here. Thank you, Barbara, so much.
Okay, bye-bye.